Hello everyone, welcome, very welcome. Good morning, Professor Davis.
Good morning, Dr. Uzdemir. So good to see you again.
Nice to see you again. Welcome. What time in your side?
Oh,
6
yeah,
a.m.
it's 5:59. Yes, it's almost 6 a.m. on the West Coast, the best coast.
Appreciated, Professor Davis, for attending the 16th LIC as the keynote speaker. Dear
My honor.
attendants, Professor Davis from the American University of Health Sciences. Thank you again, Professor Davis. And Dr. Bilideo, Annika Bilideo,
Yes, I'm here.
welcome. Thank you for attending the 16th LIC as the keynote speaker.
Thank you.
You are from Waterloo University,
Yeah,
Canada.
university. Yes. It's
Yeah,
9 a.m.
brilliant,
here, so it's
brilliant,
more.
brilliant,
It's
brilliant. Yeah, thank you,
the
thank you.
better.
Okay, Dr. Altay, hello.
Hi, how
Hello,
are you doing?
good
From Dr.
good
Altay
evening.
from Richmond College. Richmond College is a partner of the 16th LIC. Thanks to Richmond College for the signed memorandum with us. Dr. Jansen from Netherlands, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And Dr. Christina, how are you?
Hello, thank you. I'm fine. Hello,
We
everybody.
we
Same
love
time.
you and Austria.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I think
Yeah.
Dr. Albert here from Indonesia.
Yes, I am. Good evening, everybody. I'm from
Good.
Indonesia.
Yeah, for you, good evening. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Terima kasih, Dr. Albert. Terima kasih.
You're most welcome from Sama-sama.
Sama. LIC is a very international conference from Canada to Indonesia, Austria, Canada, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Netherlands, UK, USA, Afghanistan, and Turkey are here today. Maira is with us today as a moderator. Welcome, Maira, again. Thanks for coming. She is from the University of Georgia, USA. Yes, conference chair, Professor Bulut, with
Hi,
us.
Mr.
Welcome,
Sterling. How are
sir.
you?
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you?
Thank you. We are good. Very international conference from the
Yeah.
Canada, your side to Malaysia to Indonesia. We are very happy.
Yeah. It is a wonderful situation. Thank you.
Oh, okay, Myra, are you ready?
Yes, I am. So,
Okay.
I think majority of us are here. So, shall we start?
Yes, please.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you again for joining the 16th London International Conference, jointly organized by um, Richmond, Canada College. I am Maira Serikkyzy. I am a PhD candidate at the University of Georgia in the United States. So please allow me to officially open the conference, and I'd like to invite Dr. Cihan Bulut, the conference chair, to officially open the conference. Dr. Bulut, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the 16th London International Conference on Interdisciplinary Approaches and Innovation in Social Science Research. It is great pleasure for me to open this international online conference. I'm very happy to see participants from different countries joining us today. This conference is organized in collaboration with LIC in London, Richmond College in Canada. I would like to thank both institutions for their valuable support. I also want to sincerely thank everyone who contributed to the preparation of this event, our organization team, speaker, session chairs, and technical coordinator. This event brings together researchers and professionals from different disciplines. We believe that interdisciplinary collaboration is key to solving today's global challenges, and I hope this conference will inspire new ideas and connection. Now, as I close to my remarks, I would like to give the floor to our moderator, for the opening season. Thank you all, and I wish you successful and engaging conferences. Thank you, Maria. Mike is your side.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bulut, for the thoughtful remarks. Please allow me to introduce Dr. Annika Biladu. She is an educational developer in research and consulting at the Center for Teaching Excellence, University of Waterloo in Canada. Dr. Biladu, please, floor is yours. Help me welcome Dr. Biladu.
Thank you, Maira, for the introduction. Can you all see my screen? I'm trying. Yes, okay, perfect. I'm sharing my PowerPoint. That is wonderful. Let me put it full screen. Okay, here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. I would first like to thank the LIC and the conference chair, Dr. Bulut, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today to kick off the Interdisciplinary Approaches and Innovations in Social Science Research conference. My name is Annick Bilodeau, and as Maira just said, I work as educational developer for research and consulting at the University of Waterloo's Center for Teaching Excellence, and I'm affiliated with the Faculty of Arts at the University of Waterloo too. Today, I'll be sharing my own journey from discipline-specific to student-centered, interdisciplinary teaching and research. But first, I would like to start by acknowledging the territory upon which the University of Waterloo resides. The University of Waterloo is located on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. The University of Waterloo is situated on the Alderman Tract, the land granted to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the River Grand. Our active work towards reconciliation takes place across our campuses through research, learning, teaching, and community building, and is coordinated within our Office of Indigenous Relations. I believe that the main framework that I leverage today, called Students as Partners, is a step towards more inclusive teaching and learning practices and works towards deconstructing power relationships and reducing exclusion in the way the process of reconciliation strives for. When I used to think about interdisciplinary work, I would picture a roundtable where I'd be working with my scholarly peers who worked in disciplines close to mine. Well, today I am not going to tell you to work with your fellow scholars. You already know that it's one way to move towards interdisciplinarity in our work. Today, I want to highlight the strengths that can emerge from working with students as partners in inquiry. Both undergraduate and graduate students possess a wealth of knowledge. For example, generational knowledge, their lived experience, and scholarly knowledge that instructors and researchers should tap into to inform our teaching practice and our research agenda. Today, I want to show you that collaborating with students as partners can improve your teaching, your research, and make you experience the joy of being a learner again. My talk today is a plea for more student-professor, researcher, interdisciplinary collaboration. As experienced educators and researchers, we have a role to play to shape the next generation of scholars, and to do so, we must go further than merely hiring teaching assistants and research assistants. We must encourage them to shape our teaching methods. We must be learning from and with our students, position ourselves as learners again, and co-create meaning with them. My talk is organized as follows. I begin with a brief overview of my evolution as an educator and introduce the student as partner framework, then show you how I took it one step further and now conduct all my research projects with it, and how it has allowed me to become more of a social science researcher. Remember, I am affiliated with the Faculty of Arts, so I am a humanities scholar through and through. I have been at the University of Waterloo for the past 8 years, 6 as a Spanish language and Latin American cultures instructors in the Faculty of Arts, and the last 2 as an educational developer focusing on teaching and learning research. In those years, I have moved from a very solitary researcher, reading and writing on my own, to a researcher who embraces collaboration with scholars and students alike across disciplines in my own faculty and beyond. I now do more work as part of a team than on my own. Early in my career, I have encountered senior colleagues who told me that I cared way too much about students, about what they thought, that I shouldn't be influenced so much by their comments and feedback. I hated hearing that. Building off my own experience as a literature student who had spent countless hours listening to carefully designed lectures delivered in a monotone voice, I despised being a sage on the stage. But luckily for me, I was teaching language and culture electives, which gave me a bit of room to embed students' interests into my courses. Most of my time in the classroom has been dedicated to Spanish language instruction. A good basic principle of language teaching, especially at the 101 level, where students are likely to be enrolled to complete their language requirement and have no desire to become fluent in the language, is that learners are likely to be more engaged with materials and topics that interest them, even if skill-wise, they're more challenging. Think about it that way. You're more likely to look up a word in the dictionary if what you're reading interests you than if you're just doing language drills. So, after teaching some vocabulary and the basics of conjugation, I would send students a survey in which I'd ask them to list topics they'd like to learn about. Believe it or not, conjugating verbs in fill-in-the-blank sentences becomes a lot more interesting when the sentences are about Formula One or the latest Marvel movie. In more advanced classes, the Spanish class became a space to learn about climate change, gender relations, contemporary art, even string theory and Python coding. I by no means became an expert in those 2 last. Weaving students' interests into the curriculum and the content meant that they were more interested in what I was teaching them, but I was also learning about the variety of fields they studied in. In culture courses, I went one step further. In my course program, I left the last 3 weeks of the term completely empty. During the first few weeks, I'd ask students what was missing, quote unquote, from the course, to list topics they wanted to add, and then to vote on them, to decide as a class what they wanted to learn about. I ended up teaching content from food studies, religious studies, musicology, and law. While I by no means became an expert in these fields, I learned a great deal from letting students shape the content of my lessons. What I didn't know then was that what I was doing to keep students engaged, and that, to be honest, I considered a baseline for good teaching, could be framed under the student as partner framework. The student as partner framework is a central tenet of the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, the discipline that studies teaching and learning at the university level, and is generally deployed in research on teaching and learning. The framework puts students' voices and perspectives at the center of our work. For instance, they can co-design, contribute to the development of courses and the curriculum itself, offer in-depth feedback around issues related to classroom instructional approaches, so how we teach, how we present the material, or help design course materials and assessments. In research on teaching and learning specifically, students as partners or co-inquirers can provide an unfiltered reaction on survey, focus group questions, allowing instructors to peek into the student's mind before conducting the research and conducting the surveys. But student as partner is more than asking students what they think about XYZ, though. Boville, Cook-Sather, and Felton define student-faculty partnerships as, quote, a reciprocal process through which all participants have the opportunity to contribute equally, although not necessarily in the same way, to curricular or pedagogical conceptualization, decision-making, implementation, investigation, or analysis. It gives a lot of power to students, a lot of agency. These partnerships must be underpinned by respect, reciprocity, and shared responsibility in learning. Obviously, this reshapes the current relationship between faculty and students, putting them on a more equal level. Redefining the relationship between educators and students as reciprocal enables an open or collaborative approach in which the roles become blurred. It also requires teachers and learners to share their traditional roles, givers versus receivers of information, and co-create meaning together as equals. Educators reframe interaction with newfound vulnerability, we're no longer the experts, and students with newfound agency. In sum, it levels the playing field by removing hierarchical structures. Working under the values of respect, reciprocity, and shared responsibilities is also something we should strive for in our disciplinary research, which is even more exclusionary than regular teaching and learning research. Indeed, students as partner challenges existing structures and hierarchies to, quote, create liminal spaces within which power and exclusion can be deconstructed, critiqued, and potentially redressed, end quote. In research projects, the student as partners becomes a co-investigator, a co-thinker, and a co-creator. Too often in academia, we hire students as research assistants to perform useful but somewhat basic tasks. To train students for a future in academia, we task them with compiling a bibliography, writing book summaries, copy editing, but we don't often think of them as equals, with whom we could develop a research project from the very beginning, from ideation to co-writing and publishing. Even in STEM, where active collaboration is more common, students often hop on their PI's research projects. As researchers, we are in the privileged position of training the next generations. But to be truly good mentors, we need to let ourselves be trained by the next generations. Co-authoring articles, conference presentations, even section of my latest book with my student partners has been a very enjoyable experience. They keep me on my feet by bringing new ideas to the table, by looking at the same old concepts or pieces of literature with fresh eyes, having read the latest scholarship in their respective fields, often because they have to. It was given to them as a homework. And as you know, we don't have time to keep up with everything that is published. And by training me in these disciplines in which I'm their junior. Decentering myself from the role of the depositor of information and positioning myself as a learner, both in my teaching and my research, has some drawbacks. For instance, it takes a lot more time. A concrete example, I just published an article with one of my student partners, and this Friday, we're both flying to Czechia to present it at a multidisciplinary conference. From the initial coding of the data to seeing the article in print, to presenting the result to an international audience, it has taken 3.5 years. Effectively, this work was important for both of us, and so was the way we would conduct it, even if it meant it would take longer. Working a framework that strips hierarchies from relationships was a major concern for us, as my student partner had been my student in Spanish class for 4 semesters. We wanted to be mindful of our past dynamics to remove the student-professor top-down relationship. We both had to shed our initial identities. For me, this meant a conscious effort to stop treating her as a student, and she had to learn to treat me as an equal and stop believing everything I said We had to learn to work together as equals. It takes some time to getting used to, and it takes longer to get publications out, but it's worth it. I know that some attendees are probably thinking right now, wow, I could have had that paper out in a fraction of the time. And you are absolutely right. But in that time, I became acquainted with new theories, fields, and disciplines that you can see in my constellation on the slide, and acquired the skills necessary to work with new methodologies in the social sciences. I'm still by no means a data scientist, but my work now bridges the humanities and the social sciences, thanks to these student partners who are now emerging scholars in their own field. Being learners again equips us to become better educators and stronger mentor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bulut, for this insightful keynote. It's such a new approach involving emerging scholars and mentoring them in the process, because many times as a PhD candidate myself, it's a very lonely journey, and we're just looking around like hoping someone will show us the way. So thank you for amazing presentation.
Thank you.
Allow me to introduce our next keynote speaker, Dr. Brent Davis, Campus Ministry and ESL Coordinator at the University of Southern California. Dr. Davis, please welcome.
Thank you, Maira. So good to see you all. Dr. Özdemir, Dr. Bulut, and other esteemed colleagues. Dr. Bilodeau, thank you for that very interesting presentation. A lot to think about there. And continuing on in this idea of interdisciplinarity, uh, what is our ultimate goal? And in my last presentation, I talked about the fact that our education is often geared towards basically generating a career that allows somebody to work. And of course, that is a necessary part of life. But we can also see that in our communities, in our families, there are many stresses, there are many problems. And I would like to suggest, and follow up on my suggestion then, that we need to educate for well-being. And how do we go about that? Well, first we need to take a look at what is well-being. And let me just share my screen with you. So, well-being is the Harvard Center for Flourishing describes well-being as a state in which all aspects of a person's life are good. That's something that we all would, I agree, be say we would like, not perhaps something that is always attainable, but certainly something we are all looking for. This includes happiness, life satisfaction, physical and mental health, meaning and purpose, character and virtue, and close social relationships. It's a holistic concept that varies across cultures and individuals, but with many central features that we can agree on as members of the human race. Well-being isn't just the absence of illness, it's about thriving in every dimension of life. So, as we can see, these many aspects interrelate and influence each other, and therefore well-being is influenced by interconnected systems. And so systemic approaches are essential to support and sustain well-being. And so the first area that I think should be addressed in education is an understanding of systems thinking. And this is a little bit abstract, and has been a lot of work on trying to develop a general systems theory, but it's difficult because every system is a little different, but they all share features where they are interacting. And a system is a set of things that produce their own pattern of behavior over time. And these behaviors tend to be resistant to simple pressures. Uh, for example, there have been social attempts to improve things such as poverty, homelessness. At our university, we are very much interested in addressing homelessness. The founder of our university, Pastor Gregory Johnson, his ministry focuses on homelessness, and so that is of really what kind of got us started in looking at all of these areas. What can we do about homelessness? And it quickly was clear that there's not a simple thing. If you kind of just simply, there's often a debate in uh, among the practitioners in this area. Is it program first? In other words, do we provide services and try to get people able to function independently, or do we provide housing first and then provide services? And as I looked at the situation, I said, I think the answer is community first. There needs to be a social network, a system in place that supports and brings healing first. A lot of people who are experiencing homelessness have experienced trauma. And when you have experienced severe trauma, it's difficult to engage in normal social relationships and many other things. And often people self medicate through addictive behaviors with drugs and so forth. And so there's a constellation of problems that need to be addressed. And that is why we need to understand about systems so that our attempts to deal with problems are not too simplistic. So, what kind of systems are we talking about? Well, obviously, our physical well being, our bodies are systems, right? And I think that in our educational systems, we need to explain some basic things about health education. And of course, in the United States, in uh, elementary and secondary education, there is an emphasis on basic health. And one of the features of a system is that it tries to achieve a certain point of balance where things are working well together. In physical systems, this is called homeostasis. And so one of the features of systems is this kind of point of balance. It's a dynamic point. Things are constantly changing and altering, and adjusting based on feedback loops and other such mechanisms. All right. And so, but we are not just simple physical creatures. We have a psychosocial aspect as well. And I've mentioned as talking about the homeless that we have uh, mental health, emotional resilience issues, and again, uh, as we study the neuroscience of individuals, we discover that individuals are not individuals, that we are part of a psychosocial system, as Dr. Daniel Siegel says, shaped by interpersonal patterns and neural firing. So, uh, when children come into the world, they are already geared to look at the caregiver and look for um, uh, love and concern. And this creates, in a healthy relationship, an attachment that then, in turn, influences the development of the neural system itself. And if that is interrupted due to abuse or absence of care, then the person fails to develop a proper neural system and, of course, then has difficulties. And we see this again in many of the homeless people. All right. So, as I said, community first. So, what is a community? A community is a very complex system. And to build a proper community, we need several things. And these are often referred to as capital, coming from the idea of finance. But we are talking about financial capital. Uh, there have to be financial resources in a well-functioning community. And many of our communities, especially in the inner cities, are suffering from a lack of financial capital. But it's not just financial capital, there needs to be cultural capital. Um, we have, uh, there needs to be social capital, there needs to be social justice. Um, uh, it was wonderful that Dr. Bulut started with an acknowledgement of the original people on the land of the university. Well, our university is located on the traditional lands of the Tongva people, and uh, their contributions have been overlooked in many ways in our society, but in recent years, there's been efforts to recognize that. One of the parks I love to walk in has a series of stones that talk about the life and culture of the Tongva people. Uh, Here in Southern California, we are very multicultural. My wife is from Taiwan. I attend a church that's mostly uh, Chinese people, but also has Hispanics and African Americans and other different uh, groups. And so, as we look at these types of capital, they again interact in ways that require us to understand systems. And if that understanding is not well in place, then interventions and policies that are designed to solve problems like homelessness actually don't work because systems are what? They're trying to achieve a certain balance point. And that's not always a healthy balance point from our point of view. Systems can be dysfunctional in a sense in terms of what we want to accomplish, but they function perfectly well at creating that dysfunction. So the whole system needs to be adjusted, and different aspects and different relationships have to be understood and investigated so that the actual system is changed and not just one area is changed and then other areas adjust, and eventually we're back to the same dysfunctional balance point. All right. And Professor Gruber explains all this very well in his work. But finally, as a person of faith, I believe that ultimately we are not just part of a natural system, but also a supernatural system, and that we are uh, need to ultimately have a relationship with God. And I love the way that Dr. Lloyd Johnson puts it in his book, Divine Love Theory. Ultimate reality itself is relational. Relationships are part of the fabric of being itself. And the ultimate human flourishing, the ultimate well being, is the ultimate purpose or telos God has for humans, is that they would be in loving communion with Him. Thus, according to these versions of natural law theory, this communion with God is the ultimate moral good for humanity. And so, with these aspects in view, we are endeavoring to work through uh, we are creating programs, degree programs at our universities. By the way, my university is American University of Health Sciences and American Theological University. My degree is from University of Southern California. Um, and so just a little correction there. So um, as we look at these different interdisciplinary areas, we see that systems thinking helps us to understand how they interrelate. And as we understand how systems work, we can look at the problems that individuals and society as a whole have, and we can work on policies and interventions that help us with that. And so, in conclusion, let me just say that I we are developing these programs to address the root causes of homelessness and other challenges, and that we are working to create a movement. And there are many partners. I belong to a group called the Christian Association for Christian Association for Community Development. And we aim to transform not just individuals who are in turn systems, but the social systems around us. So if you would like to if you'd like to know more, please contact me, and I would love to share our vision and how we could partner together interdisciplinarily. Thank you for your attention. God bless.
Thank you so much, Dr. Davis, for your presentation, filling with compassion and empathy, and then touching base with the systemic injustice that is happening around the world. I think as a researchers and people that has a platform, we have to voice those things as a matter of fact. Also, this concludes our opening session. Thank you to both of the keynote speakers. You are very welcome to have Q&A right now if you're interested in the presentation. I will give the stage to Dr. Salim to continue from here.
Thank you. We have, dear Maira, we have 20 minutes. If you have any questions, you can ask to the keynote speakers. Yes, Mr. Doganay from France, Professor Yakup Doganay.
Hello, everyone. Hello, dear colleagues and participants. I'd like to congratulate you all for on this successful and profitable academic, we can say, event. So I'd like to ask my question to the first presenter. First of all, I'd like to congratulate her on her very, very eye-opening and at the same time very good, profitable, and successful presentation. And as far as I have heard, and I still can remember that she said that their students or her students could have right over making decision about lessons. So my question is whether her students would have a right over making decision about content of the lectures or lessons at the same time, or some activities, or at the same time, even syllabus. Thank you.
So that's a very good question. Thank you. In my case, I would say both. So it depends on the type of course that I teach. So if I teach a language course, it's basically a box. There's material that I need to cover, and students don't really get a say on the syllabus itself, on the content. They get a say on the delivery. So some lessons are better taught in person, some others are better taught online. That they can decide. And when I say I collaborate with them, like I'm still the one with the red pen marking. So if I disagree with a suggestion, I can turn it down. Syllabus wise, mostly for the weighting of the assignments. I have tried that with third and fourth year students, and I've had some mixed results. Sometimes it works very well. Students are very self-aware that, for instance, in a language course, there needs to be a lot of speaking and a lot of presentations. So they will go for this type of assessments. But there's also been some pushback from students who only wanted written assessment. So it's a constant negotiation with students. Like you give them agency, but you also need to make the decisions. And when you make a decision that goes against their suggestions, you need to be able to tell them why you are not following their advice. But as long as you're transparent, in my experience so far, I've never faced any major issues with students.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. or Miss Lado, for your answer. I'm an English teacher at the same time, and while I was teaching English in prep course, it's quite normal that we are colleagues and we have the same comments and Prof, for example, in our lessons and expectations from our students, or difficulties that we face during our lesson. We have got teachers' approaches and perspectives to our lessons, and our students have different expectations and their own perspectives to the lessons too. And at the same time, we have, but you are young, I am not anyway, but we have got a little bit gap, the generation gap between us and our students. It is because of that, their interests might be different. I was bringing some topics for discussions during lessons to be able to improve our students' practice in English. And once they said that those topics were so old-fashioned, for example, out of date and a little bit boring. And some films also, they mention about that. And then let's decide together about what topic we can talk on, and let's choose the films. I completely gave them chance to choose the films, and they really brought some more interesting films, for example. And we can, as you see, make some decisions together about content, about materials, about the flow of lesson even sometimes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It also shows students all the work that goes into planning a lesson, and I think it gives them a bit more respect for the work that we do behind the scenes.
Thank you. Thank you. Asus, Dr. Christina and Dr. Albert, I think you have a question.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank both keynote speakers for their valuable contributions and their interesting speeches. I would have a question to Dr. Brent Davis. Yes. You told us that well-being is associated with different systems, if I understood you correctly. And is government also one of these important systems? I mean, because government can also impact our well-being if we think about funding of, let's say, healthcare services. And the
Yes, thank you.
second question, also the same with technology. I mean, technology systems, if we think about terms like telemedicine or artificial intelligence driven diagnostics or something like this.
Thank you, Dr. Shabasser. Yes, those are all part of the systems that we exist in and are obviously affect and impact our well-being. Um, I would include there's if you go back to the slide with the different types of capital, I believe that there was a political capital under there, which applies to the community, to the idea of government. So ideally, the purpose of government, in my view, is to arrange for the well-being of the citizens, and not just the citizens, but all the people under that. So immigrants and visitors and whatever. But as we know, we do not live in a perfect world, and often things are driven by special interests where people are trying to just get well-being for their little group, but not for everyone. And this is, I think, a major issue that has to be worked with. Um, there's a couple of ways we can do that. One is again, I think, education. If we educate people to respect and care for other people, um, and certainly most of the great faith traditions will do that. Certainly, our church certainly attempts to do that. We Through this we can also actively engage in advocacy with government. I'm a volunteer for a group called Prison Fellowship, which advocates for um, rehabilitation of prisoners, especially after they're released in the United States. Uh, People who are ex-felons have lost many rights and privileges, and it makes it very difficult for them then to get jobs that require things like licenses and things like that. So there's a great area there, and I wish we had more time to develop that, but if you would write me an email, we can continue the dialogue. Thank you so much
Thank you
for the
for your
question.
valuable answer. Thank you.
Dr. Albert, please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Albert from Indonesia. My question goes to Dr. Brett. Thank you for your valuable sharing, talking about the well-being. So I have a question. As we know that this is the digital era, everybody should be able to work in under pressure, even in organization, the government organization, or university especially. So, what strategies can be used to maintain mental health balance under the high work pressure, while we are required to maintain a balance between time with those around us, especially our families. On the one hand, we are also required to maintain a balance with our time with those around, especially our families. Thank you.
Yes, that's a great question. And I think that, again, our systems are really geared towards creating these financial capital uh, systems. You know, there's a priority there. The focus and the assumption is that what people really need, their most basic need, is very material. And there's a lack of attention to the mental health issues, to the building up of uh, family systems, right? Often in some cultures, in some work business cultures, there's an idea that people should be working like 80 hours a week or something, which is very detrimental to the family. And then uh, this kind of attitude then means that the children who come up are being starved for the kind of attention and care that they need, and then they are unable to compete in this high pressure environment, and they become depressed. And so we are creating a system that produces the opposite of well-being, but instead is creating a tension and difficulty, and only the most resilient are able to survive and hopefully thrive. But uh, this is what I would like to see changed in our society. And um, you know, Jesus said, "Man shall not live by bread alone." There are more important things than simply having bread is very important. We don't go too far with when we have no bread, but we also, struggle with the other things, lacking other things. Thank you.
Thank you. We have
Please
just
contact
five.
me if you want to continue.
Sorry. Thank you, Professor Davis. We have just 5 minutes for next session. Dr. Jansen, please.
Well, I just wrote down a small question, Dr. Brandt. Um, I'm reading at this moment a book of Joseph Stiglitz. Probably you know him. And Joseph
Yes,
Stiglitz is
yes.
the road to freedom. And
Mm,
well, he's making a trade-off between GDP and, well, things like happiness and stuff like that. And my
hmm.
basic question was, does it link to your thoughts? I just wondered.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Um, you know, we can there's an assumption and that we if we have enough material things, we will be happy. But there's plenty of research and plenty of personal experiences that will tell you that uh, there are rich people that while it's difficult to thrive when you're poor, but the fact that you have a lot of resources and you're working 80 hours a week is not thriving either. So, yes, um, I, there are places where GDP needs to go up for people to thrive. And then in a place like the United States, we have perhaps the highest GDP in the world, but we have a very low level of happiness and life satisfaction. So balance. We need systems that create a balance that focuses around well-being and not the almighty dollar or what or euro or whatever.
Thank you. Mr. Asus. Mr. Asus. Professor Doganay, unfortunately we don't have enough time. Can you keep your question for the Paris conference? We will together conference in the Paris.
Okay. No
Yes,
problem.
please. You can ask now.
Please, what? That's a question?
Please brief, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Davis, I am very glad to see you again, and he was our
Good to see
teacher.
you
And
again.
okay, he doesn't get old. He's frozen in time. Okay.
You look the
My
same too,
question is,
Jakob.
when you use the notion of wellness or well-being, is it spiritual well-being, emotional well-being, or wealthy well-being, or social or psychological well-being? And what are the relationships between education and them all in mainstream education that we do not have spiritual lessons? And how does education help or serve all these ones? Thank you.
Yes. In a very short talk, I tried to give the point that these are all aspects of well-being, right? We need well-being in all of these different areas to really experience well-being. But in education, I said these are areas need to be addressed. I would specifically say that one of the things we can focus on in our educational process is creating character. As we create character, this helps us with resilience, with being kind to others, and with creating better societies. So that would be one specific area that we can address in our educational systems. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And
Th-
write me if you want to continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Asus, are you there? You have question or not?
Hello, everyone. I don't know how this name was, I think, automatically represented to me. Actually, my name is Atla Prashant. I was trying to change the name, but anyway, uh, my question is about about the well-being. From Mr. Brent. So I would like to know the role of family. What kind of role family have, for example, to in well-being in the society, and also for the children, the parents who big and who how important the role is. Thank you.
Hmm. Well, I think family is a huge role. Uh, as I said, when we are born, we are looking toward that caregiver for emotional attachment. And there's a number of researchers, Bowlby, Alan Shore, who have looked at this. And there's when those families are dysfunctional, then there's either an people either get an absence trauma where they are not getting what they need, and therefore they're not developing properly, or in the worst cases, there is abuse and there is a type of and the trauma, they're very traumatized. And these people, when they grow up, have a very hard time functioning in society and require a healing and therapy to get back to a point where they can function. So yeah, this is families are very, very important and need to be supported. And again, uh, yeah, lots of things we could say there, but we have no time. I'm sorry.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Davis, with all your response, and Dr. Biladu for your wonderful presentation and your answers. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's opening session. And I will be closing this session, and I'll hope to see everyone in our upcoming sessions.
Maira, thank you so much
Yeah, that's
for
great.
your coming. Professor Davis, Dr. Annik, and all participants, thank you so much. See you.
Thank you.